Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. Today's honored guest is Dr. Chris Koutures, zooming in from Orange. He is an experienced pediatric and sports medicine doctor with over 25 years in practice. He has watched several newborns now grow into amazing young adults, including his 3 children. He has demonstrated a history of working in the sports industry from entry level to collegiate and Olympic athletes. Owner and manager of a comprehensive private pediatric and sports medicine practice with focus on collaborative care, team physician and partner for U.S. Volleyball, Cal State Fullerton, Chapman University Dance and American Ballet Theater, Gillespie School of Dance. Strong healthcare services, professional skilled in healthcare management, pediatrics, healthcare, sports medicine, and injury prevention. Frequents local, regional, and national speaking with brand recognition, regular blog and social media presence, and a community leader in education and advocacy, co-founder of Orange County Concussion Consortium and member of Children's Hospital Concussion Clinic. Welcome, Dr. Koutures.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to sharing what I do with your audience.
Yes. So tell us what you do and how you got into sports medicine.
Well, I have the pleasure to work with amazing young people and their families, and that could be from a newborn to an Olympic level athlete. And we try to serve them. We try to be essentially the team behind their team. If it's a younger family trying to figure out how to feed a newborn to dealing with an athlete who has suffered an injury, we're there to be their partner. We're there to offer medical care. We're there to seek out our colleagues when necessary. And we just want to be available to support them in their journey, again, from the beginning of life through middle age years.
Now let's start from beginning of life, right? When a family, husband and wife have a baby, maybe it's their first baby. Nobody knows anything how to raise kids, right? And we think that we're ready to have a baby, and we're never ready. The baby just comes, and you just kind of figure it out. What are some of the important things that a new parents should know on the first child? Because once they learn it on the first child, they know for the rest of the kids. But on the first one, it's like, what do we do? How do we do it?
The first one can be a bit overwhelming. When I go in a room with a first-time parent, I want to really praise what they're doing well, because I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're thinking, we're not doing anything right.
Right.
So I just want to make sure they know that, hey, you've got here, and your baby's gaining weight, and you're feeding. I know you're not sleeping a lot. That's going to come. But you got some good things going.
Right.
And then we build off of their intuition. We build off of their strengths. And I just want to give them as much control. I know they probably get a lot of advice from family members and friends of what to do. And sometimes they just have to filter that. But just to have the confidence in what they're doing, to rely upon each other, and to know that no one's got it all figured out. You know, I've been doing this for 27 years. Yeah, there are times where I don't exactly have every answer, but we're going to try to work what's best for them. We're going to try to respect some of their individual styles. But I think that main thing is just to praise them for the good things they're doing.
Mm-hmm. That always seems like the best approach, right? We're always, as parents, super hard on ourselves. But at the end of the day, like you said, if the baby's thriving and gaining weight, crying and making noise and not letting us sleep, then we obviously got to be doing something right.
If you're changing way too many diapers, you're probably doing something right. So again, we try to find the positive in everything.
Now, is your specialty sports medicine? Is that what you specialize on?
I'm actually both board certified in pediatrics and sports medicine. Sports medicine is more of a specialty. And I think the beauty of that is I get to work with kids and young adults who are motivated. They're usually very dedicated to their craft. And let's be honest, when you talk to most adolescents, they don't want to come and see the doctor. It's just odd. It's just not in their usual wheelhouse. But when I ask them about their sport and I ask them about what they're doing, it's a connection point. It gives me a chance to actually have a conversation. And from that conversation, I can sense they might trust me a bit. Now we can talk about school. We can talk about relationships, other factors of their life. So I think that's where sports medicine has come, and it's allowed me to keep some of my older patients in the practice and allowed us to add many families who want more of that higher level care.
Now, what's as a young athlete, and depending on how they're excelling in their sport and how dedicated they are, what can you do to potentially enhance their performance? And it seems like one thing you did bring up, that a lot of these athletes have a certain mindset, and determination and discipline in order to be able to compete at that level and maybe even higher levels.
So what I try to do is use my experience with those athletes who have gotten to perhaps the higher levels, the collegiate, post-collegiate, and they have some certain traits. For example, they're not going to scrimp on sleep. And I know it's tough for some young athletes when they've got late practices and they want to finish their homework. I'm going to try to get 6 to 7 hours. Hey, the folks who are at that high level get 8 to 9. And the studies tell us that that's what you need. We got to be feeling ourselves. So even if you're kind of going from school to practice, you feel like you're in the car a lot. What can you do as a meal prep or planning so you have appropriate nutrition with you? And then how are you having some good experiences outside of sport? You'll be able to hang out with your friends. Sometimes we'll talk about video games, and parents will be shocked when I bring up, hey, if at the end of a busy day, your son or daughter wants to get on and just be connected with their friends and they're yelling, screaming, playing video games, as long as it's not too late, that's a connection point. And that gives them an outlet outside of their sport. And that gives them a relief. So I just want to make sure that we're supporting them both when they're on the field, on the dance floor, but also the times that occur afterwards.
So now you said something that seems to be really important. You mentioned 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Do all high performing athletes maintain that discipline of 8 to 9 hours of sleep? And what does that do for your performance and your body, getting enough sleep?
Great question. I would say most higher level athletes strive for that. They may not always get it, but I think they will realize they're not at the best of their game if they fall short. If you look at good studies of the high school athlete, those who get 8 hours or more of sleep, less risk of getting sick, less risk of getting hurt. The reaction time is quicker. Retentions, their ability to learn new material, that could be in the classroom, that could be coaching, trying to run a new play. They're quicker to put it into play. They are probably less apt to get hurt because they've got better coordination, better reaction time. So there's really nothing that should get in the way of 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I'll tell athletes, if you've got the choice between maybe an extra hour of recovery where you're doing stretching, which is good, or you're doing maybe ice bath, which can have benefits, but you're giving up your sleep, I'd go with sleep. I'd make sleep that number one priority.
Now, does that still apply to a person at any age, whether you're younger, where you might require that sleep, or even if you're older, maybe in your 40s, 50s, 60s, should you always be trying to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night?
I think that's a reasonable goal. And I know we have different devices to monitor not just the quantity of sleep, but how good we're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think if we maximize our sleep, we can wake up better ready for the next day. We've had some recovery of our cognitive and muscle function, and we're probably in a better position, be it to go exercise, go to work, be a parent, do what we have to do in the day. So it's boring. Requires some dedication, but if you can get good sleep on a regular basis, it will definitely help you perform better in whatever facet of life you're looking at.
That's interesting. Sometimes we don't think we need as much sleep, and there's of course many people online, successful gurus that say, you know what, you'll sleep one day you'll sleep. You got to stay up long hours, perform long hours, but if you, I guess, take the time to sleep, you can think better, you can perform better, you can make better decisions, and that alone might pay multiple dividends.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And yeah, we're going to have our one-offs. The time of this recording, it's 2 days after the Dodgers won 18 innings. And in fact, we were joking yesterday at the office, how many people stayed up 18 innings and probably gave up sleep. Productivity yesterday in Orange County was probably not the best.
Yeah.
Because people didn't sleep. So one-offs, that's one thing, but you want that consistent sleep.
Yeah. I guess if you can get it most of the time, then
Right.
it's
Most
better
of the
than
time. We're not
least of the
perfect.
time.
We're going to have
Yeah.
those days that come up, the travel days. I couldn't sleep. Anxiety was high, but if you make it a
Yeah.
goal, it will help you out.
Right. Now, you also mentioned meal prep. And I think that would also apply whether you're an athlete or not, how important it is to eat clean, eat right, eat the right amount of calories so we're not gaining weight. How does that affect our daily performance, not only in the office, but on the field?
I think if my son Gregory were listening to this, he'd have a big smile because he was the kid who would and make me take him to Costco or go to the store and we'd get a bunch of chicken and a bunch of prep for the chicken. He would spend, still does, a good amount of time making his meals for the week because he's come to realize, okay, Sundays are usually pretty mellow days. I've got some time. But Wednesday, you're going from meeting to class to activity. There's minimal time. And either what do? We scrimp, we just don't eat. We stop at the fast food place. Maybe we see what's in the cabinet. And usually those choices aren't the best. But if you say on a day when there's not much going on, I'm going to plan for the week and I'm going to see what I need for the next 5 days. And I also think of what can I have in the car that's pretty good for me. And I usually go with standbys of peanut butter, trail mix, hard-boiled eggs, Greek yogurt, and even chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is one of the best recovery drinks. You've got many of the products that don't have lactose if you're lactose intolerant. And a lot of them don't have to be refrigerated. So I talk to families about here's what you should keep in the car. These are good things you can have. They're readily available, not too expensive, and go a long way for protein, for iron, for calcium, things that you need.
Now, if you're an athlete, we know that you're working out, you're lifting weights, you're running, you're stretching. How much protein should you be eating on a daily basis? What does that measurement look like?
If you're looking to at least maintain your muscle definition and you're more of an endurance athlete, we're probably looking at, I'd say, 1.2 grams of protein for every pound you are. If you're saying, hey, wait a second, I've got to actually add some protein, I'm going to want to add muscle, it's probably more like 1.5 grams for every kilo. So let me go back. For the athlete who's just trying to maintain, 1.2 grams per kilo, which is about 2 pounds, that works. But if you're really looking to add, it's the 1.5 grams for every kilo. And ideally, you're getting that after exercise, that first half hour when you're done. If you could find a way to get about 30 grams of protein, we call that 30 for 30, it can make a difference. The muscles are hungry, they're looking for that protein, and it will go in the right place.
Now, what's the difference, or what type of proteins are the whey powders or the pre-mixed proteins that you can get at Costco, or do you want to eat egg whites or beef, or what does that look like?
I'm a big fan of food-based sources because you get so many collateral benefits. If we go back to Greek yogurt, you will also get calcium. You also get probiotic. If you go with chocolate milk, it has a nice carbohydrate to protein ratio. So you're going to get both the protein, some necessary carbohydrates, some calcium. If you have your meat-based sources, we're going to also get a bit of creatine. We're going to get some iron. So I try to go with the food base. Now, I will admit, maybe some kids will they don't eat meat as part of their diet. We may look at appropriate use of protein powders. But if you're getting enough food base, there's less need for the protein powders. If you're going to go the protein powder route, realize you want to try as best as possible to make sure it doesn't have additives you're not sure what's in there. And realize that if you're getting enough protein and you get your protein powder, you're probably just going to pee out most of the extra protein. So I think food base is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. And probably the least processed food or single ingredient foods they say that you prepare at home would probably be the best.
Agree. And that's part of that meal prep. That's part of kind of planning a few days ahead and figuring out what works best for you and to have things ready to go.
Now, if you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to bulk up muscle, um, what types of enhancers and you kind of hear things that people use, but what does that look like as is it best to speak to someone such as yourselves and say, look, I'm trying to bulk up, I want to do say bodybuilding shows, I want to get stronger, I want to get bigger. And a lot of it maybe is not natural to be able to get oversized. How do you how is it better or which is the best way to approach that? Because you have these young kids in the gyms thinking that, and maybe they're turning to their friends and they're
Right.
giving them things. What's the best way to do that in a safe environment?
Yeah, I think you brought up the most important point is safety. And right now we have cycles. Kids will bulk, then they're cut. Sometimes they'll bulk to a point where, yeah, is that the best weight for you long term? Probably not. We're also getting somewhat concerned about cycles. I bulk, I cut, I bulk, I cut. And the body's regulatory mechanisms like, where do you want to be? Do you want to be big? Do you want to be small? And sometimes it makes it harder for the body to figure out where a good set point is. So, in the ideal world, yes, sitting down with somebody who has a background in sports nutrition to say, what are good ways to do this? And also, what's your long-term goal? If the goal is, hey, I just want to look good in the gym and maybe I don't need to bulk up as much. Or, okay, I've got a competition. That's one thing. But once you're done, we want to find a better way for this long term. So good advice. I know TikTok has its authorities. Some of them
Mhm.
might have some validity, but really sitting down with somebody who can meet your specific needs would be great help.
Yeah, because if you start taking if you go on cycles with the product that people at the gym have, you kind of don't know what you're really getting into, and then the damage can be permanent.
And we've seen some pretty sad stories of kids who will start supplements and they're not sure what's in them, or they're told it's one thing. And then they have an adverse health event. We start looking at what they're taking. It's like, wow, did you know what you were taking? Or you didn't know because you weren't sure what was in there. And you're
Hmm.
right, it could have some longer term issues. So rather than experiment, try to get some good, solid professional advice.
Now, as athletes or just in general, as people age, you hit your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. If you're on the younger side, what should we be doing to age gracefully? Or if you're on the 50 to 60 side and you haven't done anything, what should you do at that point?
I think first and foremost, make sure you're getting good quality sleep. Start the day off in the best position. And then just find ways to do functional movement. We're not going to ask you to go run a marathon. I'm not going to ask you to bench 300. But if you're saying, look, I want to start getting physically active, if you're probably in your 50s or 60s, probably check with your physician about any health issues you'll have to keep in mind. It doesn't hurt to either get professional advice or do it with a friend. Accountability is key. The days you don't want to get out of bed, you'll have somebody there to kind of inspire you to do it. So the key is movement. And I think, again, functional movement, trying to do things that we have to do on a daily basis. So things like squats to get up and down out of a chair. Balance works when you're trying to reach for something on that top shelf. You're not going to topple over. So those are probably things that will be helpful. Start slow, but keep integrating it. I've told patients, if you say you can't exercise, but you got to go drop your kid off at soccer practice, park further away and walk a bit. While they're at practice, instead of sitting in the chair, walk around the field. Pretty soon you've got yourself several steps and you're doing a good thing for yourself.
Yeah, see, that's pretty interesting because maybe you don't think about you having enough time to even walk, but we're always having those opportunities and maybe not realizing them and getting around and just walking. I can share a story. My grandfather was from my mom's side, passed away at 102, very healthy. And he only started using a cane at 100 at 100. So only his last 2 years of life he used a cane. But one of the things that he had, he never went to the gym, but he walked every day, probably 5 or 6 miles a day. Every day he walked, and it just made seems to have made that difference in his life.
It does. And my mom is now 87. And if you're in the Irvine area early in the morning, you'll see her out walking. And if she doesn't walk, there's something wrong. So when I talked to her, how's your walk this morning? Great. If I ever hear there wasn't a walk, we've got issues. So you're right. Keeping moving, even when you get older, can pay off big dividends.
Right, right. So it's great sleep, number one, great diet, number two, and some form of exercise to get you to keep you moving.
No doubt. No, you got the big three.
So as we get ready to wrap up the interview, what exciting things are you working on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Next 6 to 12 months, we're always trying to engage with more families. We're trying to introduce more people to what we do. So we're excited to bring in new patients. I have the pleasure of working with USA Volleyball, and the Olympic volleyball venue is going to be in Anaheim. So we are making our preparations for that. So it's just exciting to know that the Olympic Games, are going to be essentially in our county, in our backyard. So working with our colleagues there to help provide the best opportunity for our athletes to get on the podium. 3 kids in college. So I'm just excited to see them continue to grow and to learn from them. I mentioned my son, Greg. I've got 2 other kids, and they keep teaching me things that, heck, I bring back to my practice. So again, we talked about the newborn. That was, in my case, 19, 21 years ago. But I sometimes look at families and go, it goes quick. So please enjoy every moment, and we want to be part of those moments.
It does. It does. I have four boys actually, and right around that age, I had 2 graduate college this year, and I have 2 left in college. So that we're right there, neck to neck. Um, you learn so much from them because they go out and they learn things somewhere else, and they come back and they talk about them. You're like, shoot, I didn't know that, and I didn't know that, and it's just like amazing that in the beginning we were as parents teaching them, and now you can kind of teach each other because we're still teaching it, but now they're teaching us too.
It is a wonderful experience. It's humbling at times. It also makes you realize, hey, I think we did a few things right because we're now having an adult conversation. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's really cool. Get that phone call and talk to them, and they tell you what's exciting in their life, whether they're looking for jobs, applying, or doing projects, whether in college or for work. Yeah, it's really cool. The cool part about parenting. Now we're at that stage.
It is. It is. So proud to be part of it with you.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, Dr. Koutures, thank you so much for sharing what you do. And if there's anybody who's listening and would love to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
We are on Instagram. We have a robust website, activekidmd.com. Our phone number is always answered by human voice, 714-974-2220. And we look forward to, again, just serving as many families as we can.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you, Dr. Koutures.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.